over Zach Edey.
Oh,
Are we sleeping on how polarizing Zach Edey is? Maybe it's just me. It feels like this guy is turning into one of, I don't want to say the most, he's definitely the most polarizing player in the draft.
Definitely, yeah.
But I feel like as this thing goes on and on, there are always going to be people that feel very strongly about production at the college level.
Yeah.
And there are always going to be people that feel very strongly that production at the college level doesn't mean diddly when it comes to the NBA.
Right. I definitely think that he's for sure polarizing. I think maybe where my surprise comes from is I am a bit surprised by the amount of people that are pro Zach Edey. I thought it would be a more of like an 80-20 thing where you almost have like Edey truthers out there, but it does seem like, JR calls in all the time. He said he was an Edey fan. I think we've seen tons of people in the Sac chat be fans of Zach Edey. We've had tons of texts saying, what do you guys think of Zach Edey? I am just a little bit surprised by the amount of people that just say he's big, he'll figure it out. What else are we talking about here? I just have a tough time seeing a guy like that be able to move down the floor for 25, 30 minutes a game. I know he was able to do it in college, but I just think the amount of pressure that's going to be put on him in the NBA is going to be something I just can't handle, honestly. Like if I'm an offensive player, I'm putting like the second that Zach Edey's guarding Domantas Sabonis, I'm putting De'Aaron Fox in a pick and roll with Domantas Sabonis literally every play and getting Fox switched on to, or Edey switched on to Fox and clearing out. That's going to be every single time. You know, the famous clip of Steph Curry making Rudy Gobert do the hokey pokey and play Twister. That's what it's going to look like with Zach Edey all the time because he's just a little bit slow footed. And, it's what happens to all bigs. But when you're going to be that big, I don't think you can really survive in the NBA for more than 10 to 15 minutes. Like I see him as Boban. I think he's going to be good when he plays. He's going to be productive, but at the end of the day,
Boban
can't realistically. Exactly. You can't realistically find rotational minutes for him.
Yeah, I'm torn as well. I mean, of course, I saw that video of him hitting those threes.
I don't believe that at all. I just don't like.
By the way, what do you take 2 in college?
Yeah, I think he took 2, and
I think he missed both.
JaVale McGee every summer posts videos of him hitting threes. I talked about the other day, Blake Lively, Derek Lively. Blake Lively wants to
with
take
all due respect.
Derek Lively taking a ton of threes. He's the one who took 2 threes this season. Like I'm not gonna like him. Yeah, maybe possibly in 5 to 8 years if he's still in the league. Yeah, maybe it develops into something, but I don't think he's Brook Lopez. Like, I don't think he's going to be a post player and then have a career renaissance where he then steps behind the line. You know, people have said his jump shot looks like that of Jokic. I just don't think that he's Jokic. Like, I think that's the other argument that I've seen is how can you say somebody that big can't play when you have Jokic playing at the pace that he does and doing the things he does? Jokic is a generational, once-in-a-lifetime player who, you know, Zach Edey, I don't think he's ever averaged. I'd be shocked if he averaged 3 assists a game ever in his life.
No, that Jokic stuff, that's got to stop.
I don't get it. I just don't get it. I get the Valanciunas thing. That to me is like the most that I'm willing to concede on Zach Edey is that, yeah, in a perfect world, in a best case scenario, I think there's a chance he could be like a Jonas Valanciunas, but Valanciunas is hitting free agency this summer. I don't know. I mean, we talked about it earlier. Is he a mid-level guy? Is he a starter on this Kings team? Is he a starter for most teams? Or is that a guy that you bring off the bench and he gives you 20 to 25 minutes? And if they're good, that's great. And if they're not, then, you know, he's not really your sixth man.
Let's do it this way, okay? Because, you know, Brook Lopez comes up and a couple other names have come up. If Brook Lopez was coming out in the draft now, would he be viewed the same as Zach Edey? Basically, what I'm saying is these guys that were able to transform their game as the game kind of changed, right? Would they be looked at the same coming into the draft if they were, because it was a different time.
Yeah,
when
completely.
Brook Lopez got drafted, when even when these guys got drafted, it was a different NBA.
Sure.
The NBA has changed. So now you're asking a guy to not transform towards the end of his career. You're asking him to transform between the college season ending and the NBA and his NBA career starting.
3 months.
This isn't Brook Lopez, who was already in the league for how many years, and then it turned into this. You have to come in as the player that Brook Lopez is now, something close to it. That's
signs of it. At least.
That's the difference for me.
Yeah, I mean, he Brook Lopez was able to be, to your point, he was able to be a post player for 5-6 years of his career, establish himself, and then kind of reinvent himself. You know, it's just tough. Zach Edey, I know he shot great from the free throw line. He's got a pretty decent touch from out there. And I know people use free throws as kind of a forecaster to see if you can eventually develop a shot. He's got some decent touch. I think it honestly, at the end of the day, does just kind of become a thing where it becomes your stance and you just have to stick in it. Like it's kind of like an eye test with Zach Edey, where, you know, you can show me all the numbers you want. I just fundamentally can't see. I don't see. Look at if you even want to do this example like we did the other day, look at these 4 Eastern Conference or just conference finalist teams. Is Zach Edey playing for any of these teams right now? And granted, we don't know the kind of pro that we'll just say.
Maybe the Celtics.
Maybe the Celtics. I don't think. You know, I can't imagine him playing with the Pacers with the no pun intended, the pace that they play with.
That was the first one I knew was a no.
Dallas, not with Gafford and Lively. I mean, if those you're going to take those two over him, but
and Minnesota, you
know, Naz Reid and all them, but like I don't think that Zach Edey is just necessarily the kind of guy that survives in today's NBA. Like I think we've seen, you know, even like a guy like Neemias Queta is pretty mobile, but you know, just kind of doesn't have the, I don't want to say coordination, but there's just kind of a different level of twitch that you need to have to play in the NBA. And I just don't know if Zach Edey's size is going to be a big enough X factor for it to, you know, cancel out his lack of speed.
They're 18-7-4 Frenchmen waiting. Did you see that when they're the 12-year-old?
Yes, I did see that.
What was he?
He scored like 21 points in 10 minutes or something.
These guys are just, they're popping up everywhere. Yeah. Chris, I did want to.
Real quick, I do want to point this out too. Secure and DeMonk said this and this is a great point. Purdue ran literally everything for him in college. That's not happening. He probably had, 10 to 15 post-ups a game at Purdue. He's getting max 3 to 5, maybe. If he proves to be incredibly efficient at post-ups, he's just not going to have the same impact. And, you know, maybe in a weak draft in the middle of a weak draft, maybe you're just saying, again, like we've said, maybe you're just looking for a guy that you can say he's an NBA player, because I'm not sure how many of NBA players are even in this draft, but I just kind of would much rather take a swing and miss on somebody than, you know, just hope for a safe landing with Zach Edey.
I got to bust your bubble a bit here on the Zach Edey free throw thing. I don't know what you consider good or not. I mean, he'd be good for the Kings. But in 2023, 2024, he shot 71.1% from free throw.
I'll take
his career, he shot
guy.
70% from free throw.
I think that's good.
Do you think that that's still the same translate rate to a good shooter though? It's a little low to say.
I think it's enough to convince yourself.
The touch.
Yeah, because again, he's 7'4", and so anything that's not just him saying Zach throw ball at rim.
Was he Gronk now?
I mean, if you're that big, like I kind of barely expect you to be able to tie your shoe. So if he can effectively, like he's got arc on his shot. It's not like a straight line drive. It's a pretty good looking shot, and so that's more what I'm talking about when I say the free throw touch seems to be something that could translate. The numbers, I would gladly take. That's what Sabonis shoots right now. So if you're telling me Zach Edey right now is as good of a free throw shooter as Domantas Sabonis, I don't think that's that bad when he should be your worst free throw shooter on the team.
Getting the poll up on the Sac chat. Would you want Zach Edey? Are you in or out on Zach Edey? Coming up next, we got the